All right, folks, welcome to our school counseling team's first experience with YouTube and live Zooming. So hopefully you're all able to hear us and see us, and we anticipate that this is going to go relatively smoothly because we've been doing this now for so long, and we've gotten pretty good at the Zooming thing, and we're learning the YouTube, but I think we've got it. So we have our whole counseling team on this video with us. We have Dave Ufelder, who is new to the high school, and he is working with students who are A to F. We have Diane McCarthy, who has been at the high school for a few years, and she works with students G to M. We have Michelle Farrar, who's also been here for a few years, and she works with students N to Z. And then I have some random students who I've picked up along the way. And then just so that folks know, because Dave is new to the post-secondary planning process this year, Michelle, Diane, and myself will all be helping him out. And so you'll see emails from us regarding your students. Dave's students will be able to pop into different college labs with us and request Zoom meetings and get extra support from us. So as Dave learns the college process, we are going to support him as well as his students along the way. So I am going to get ready to turn this over to Dave in a minute, but I just want to let folks know that all of us have been in several workshops and conferences with admissions folks since the end of the school year, during the course of the summertime, since school has started for us. And we have heard consistently two different messages from them. First, they want your students and you to know that it's their job to make the process to go smoothly, to make sure that students know what their school is all about. And it's not the students' job to make sure that they understand how their school is working through the COVID, that they're working with the students just as much as you are. And they want you to know that they understand that this is very different than how you anticipated looking at college. And their number one job is to make sure that it goes smoothly for your kids. And the second thing that they want everyone to know is that it's a global pandemic. So the pandemic didn't happen just to Sanborn. So everyone is affected. And if things are going on for you and your student, and as you go through the college planning process or post-secondary planning, there's probably someone else out there who's experiencing the same. So they want to make sure that that they recognize that. So along the way, if you have questions, you can put them in the YouTube chat box. And as those of us who aren't presenting are listening, we're going to be watching that chat and we'll be able to answer questions. So feel free to ask questions along the way. And then we'll also have time for questions at the end. So I am going to turn this over to Mr. Yu and let him take his screens, and then I'll pop back in a little bit and go over some of the next ones with you.
Right. Thanks, Heidi. So I'm going through this journey also. We have a high school senior at home. I think many of my colleagues do.
Three.
Most of us. And I happen to know a fair amount of the seniors because I was at the middle school the last 12 years. So I smiled as I kind of looked through the senior list, and there's just a lot of familiar faces and great kids. This first slide is about we've set up a virtual college event that's on September 23rd, so not too far away, next week. I think we're up to maybe close to 50 different schools that are going to be available. That's all remote, right?
We'll be sharing. Yeah, we'll be sharing information about that later this week with the students. We're still working on setting it up with the colleges, but it'll be remote.
And you can see that there's other ones too, but we kind of have ownership on that first one coming up in September.
All right, Dave, are you ready for me to move on, or?
Yeah, ping.
All righty.
So as Heidi mentioned, this timeline review, the first dates are in February. So a lot of this has happened with seniors already. In fact, we're pretty far, about 2/3 of the way. As there's been a lot of prep work put in, and so we're down to getting, well, September 14th tonight. And then there's another event in September, the College and Career Labs beginning. And then October 8th is a big night with a financial aid presentation. And then there's just one October, at the end of October, there's a date and a couple big dates in November around early action and applying to college days. So, but certainly you'll see more information on those. So this is something I'm trying to learn quickly, the graduation requirements. And I know as we work on schedules, kids have asked me about 32 credit plans and what that means to colleges versus 28 credits. But this is the 28 credit minimum. And you can see, I won't read them all, but the requirements of 4 years of English and 4 years of math, 3 years of science, 3 years of social studies, and so on. A lot of kids, hopefully kids have already worked on the art credit or the tech credit, but if they haven't, we can figure that out with them. And there's some other online options, DLACs, and so we'll get that done. But I think we've done that with most kids, a lot of kids.
Definitely.
What's next? I think the next one's, yeah, the 32 credit diploma with distinction. So a lot of kids have asked about that, and that's really a goal for many kids, and that's great. The magna and summa cum laude. I can't see something, but I think it's New Hampshire scholars. And so they've been good about asking us questions and emailing and sort of trying to get everything lined up. You see the attendance policy, and I know that's important. I know it's changed a little bit with remote learning, but if they want to be successful and they want to get the 32 credit diploma and not have their grades suffer, they really have to minimize the absences. And just they can always stay in touch with us as well as you on how they're doing physically and emotionally. I see a lot of asterisks around the bottom one, but the idea of kids being able to walk with their class, hopefully that should be in place this spring, but knock on wood.
Sorry, Dave, go back.
That's okay. No, I think that was the big ones on that. And this one I looked at and was trying to figure out, but it looks like it's requirements for different types of programs or diplomas. The New Hampshire Scholar, when I saw in blue, was pretty obvious, and we went through that a little bit. I don't know so much about the green ones. Maybe help me out if what am I missing?
I can definitely jump in here.
Okay, yeah, it's sort of new to me, but.
Yep. So New Hampshire Scholars is a obviously New Hampshire recognition program. It was started a few years ago, and it was started to encourage students to take the most rigorous course of path of courses at their high school. And then as the program has evolved, they've started to recognize that not all students shine in the STEM area. Some students shine in the arts area. So to encourage students to really explore their passions in high school, they have started the STEM pathway where students take additional STEM classes, technology classes, or the arts pathway where they take additional arts classes. And then more recently, they've started also a career pathway program. So for students who really have found what they want to do after high school, before they've even left high school, which good for them, because I know I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. And they've recognized this with the career pathways program. So for students who participate in an internship, or students who do a New Hampshire CTE program and have earned some of those industry certifications. So some of our students graduate from high school with LNA certificates or EMT certificates, and they recognize that through this career pathway. So depending on which pathway a student takes based on the classes, they'll get a different color medal to wear at graduation, a certificate. And then we also have a recognition event that the last few years has been at the Fisher Cats game. And the commissioner speaks, and a number of other dignitaries speak. And it's all of the local high schools. It's a super fun day that they get to spend the day at a baseball game with other kids who have really
Nice.
committed themselves to their education. So it's a fun day for all of the kids.
Nice. Thank you.
Right. And just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on, and I know Dave is definitely learning what all of these things are. So I'm sure some of you may have noticed there was an event called I Applied Day. And that's an event that we're very fortunate to be able to host here at Sanborn, where we have folks who come from some local colleges, and as well as the New Hampshire Higher Education Assistance Foundation. And they come out and they help our students literally apply to college on that day. So the counselors do all of the legwork. I'm not going to take away any of the hard work that they put in with your kids as we prepare for that day. But when the students apply, when they hit submit on their applications on that day, they actually get a code from the folks at the colleges and from NEAF that allows them to apply to college for free. So for those of you who haven't been through this experience before, I have 3 boys who have all been in college. Those college applications can be pretty pricey. So anywhere from $50 to $75 and upwards. So if you have students who are applying, so 6 or 8 colleges, and if they can apply to all of the New Hampshire schools for free on that day, it saves you a good chunk of change. So really encourage the students to do that. We make a big celebration out of it. We have snacks for the presenters. The kids get to ring a bell and we clap, and we make it a fun day. And then every student who applies to college puts their name into a bucket, basically into a hat, and we literally pull out one student's name and they get a $500 scholarship. And then the commissioner came down and he presented a scholarship last year, and we did a big photo shoot with it. So it's a great day. It really gets the kids excited for, it's kind of our big first college event for the year, with the kids applying, all of them all in a room. And so they feed off of each other's energy, as do we. And
Yeah.
great day. And I think this year it's the 13th, right?
Yep, it is. And Heidi, I just wanted to add on that it's not just for 4-year colleges or 2-year colleges. It's for the 2-year colleges that have the technical programs as well. So if we have students who are interested in doing the welding program, like at Great Bay Community College, or the lineman program at Manchester Community College, if they apply for it on that day, they get the support, they get the free application, and we really celebrate that activity with them. So it's not just for a traditional 4- and 2-year college.
Correct. And then the other thing that I wanted to make sure that we touched on is the senior contract. So Dave pointed out that those will start the week of October 31st. And what that is an opportunity for each of the seniors to sit down with their counselor to go over what are their plans after high school. Where are they applying for programs? Are they looking to work? Are they looking to do the military? Do we have them signed up for the ASVAB? And then we also talk with them about what exactly they need to do in order to get that high school diploma, because that's the first step before any of the plans that they have for after high school. So if they have any online classes, we outline that. We review with them if they are intending on earning New Hampshire scholars. We make sure that we know that and which pathway they're taking. So it becomes about a good half-hour conversation with the students to really outline everything that they need to do this year and everything that we need to do to help them get ready for the next steps in their lives. We have the students sign off on that, and then we mail you as parents a copy of that paperwork, so you know kind of what your student needs to do in order to finish up their time at Sanborn. And then from those, we have, during the course of the year, we'll have meetings with the students to follow up on them. And then hopefully your student doesn't end up on academic probation, which would happen in January if they're not following through with those contracts. But you would certainly be pulled into any of those conversations with us as we travel that path this year with your students. How are we doing with questions, everybody?
We're good.
All righty, I'm going to keep going then. It's a little weird talking to myself, and I hope none of the custodians They're gonna wonder, what is she's really lost it. She's here at 6 o'clock at night. She's talking to
Talking
herself.
to herself.
She's done.
They won't be that surprised.
No, probably not. They'll just leave me alone, shut the lights off, and I'll be here tomorrow morning.
That's right.
All righty. So post-secondary planning, and this does not just include college.
Right.
Post-secondary planning includes any number of these things. So what does Sanborn do if my student is not a college-bound student? He or she wants to just go get a full-time job. Any one of these things are things that we will be doing with them this year. So we'll be talking a lot about what is a career versus what is a job. And what are they going to do that's going to make them happy? That's also going to help them support their lifestyle. Because I don't know about any of you parents, but I think my kids are shocked when they realize how expensive things are and how much it actually costs for them to live the lifestyle that myself and my husband have provided for them, and they would like to continue with that lifestyle. So we talk a lot about that with our students who are going into that full-time world, and budgeting, and how do they find those jobs that are going to give them the pay that they want in order to live the lifestyle. We do interview skills. We have an interview competition that we have hosted 2 years here at Sanborn with other schools. So with Haverhill High School and Timberlane. And we have local businesses who come out and they talk with the students, and they do an interview as if it were a job interview, and students are evaluated on that, and then they move up through the ranks of winners, I guess you could say, and until ultimately one student is chosen as a winner among all of the high schools. That student is typically offered a paid internship with a local business. So it's kind of a big deal. We work with the students on resumes. And so oftentimes in their English class, if they're not headed to a 2-year or 4-year college and they don't need to write the college essay, they can opt to work on resumes with their English teacher. We have lots of our internships here. So if you have a student who thinks that they may want to, I had one student one year, I want to be an interior designer or a nurse, or I want to go, I think it was, I can't remember what the third one was, but it was something completely different than that. And so we had her do a little, like a job shadow and a mini internship in each of those areas, so she could really figure out what she wanted to do before she spent a lot of money at college and spent a lot of money on college applications to find that she didn't really need to apply to one school versus another school based on her options that she was interested in. ELOs are another great way to really explore something you're interested in. And ELO is, I guess, for those of us who are a little bit older, it's kind of like an independent study, except it's a little bit more than that. So it's really finding something that you're interested in and taking a deep delve into it and really looking at it and doing a lot of research, and then doing some presentations and projects around that area of interest. Certifications through SST, great certification program here that we're doing for some of our students through OSHA, and kids are going to learn how to read blueprints and earn some certifications through that. So look, you have a student who's looking to do a certain career and they would like some help with learning about ServSafe if they're going into the culinary world, we can certainly help them understand what those certifications are and what they need to do in order to be ready for them. And then Job Corps is an often overlooked option for students. If you have a student who is on an IEP, or you meet the income guidelines, Job Corps is a free program through the government where students can receive free job training. So in areas, anything from welding and automotive to homeland security and nursing, dental hygienists, and the programs are free. So if that's something that you think your child might be interested in, you can look at their website and then reach out to their school counselor and we can help you learn more about that. Another option is,
so just quickly, we have one question about the college labs, but we'll get to that in a couple of minutes once we start talking about that process.
Okay, excellent. So another option for students is they may not really know what they want to do. They may think that they want to go to college, but they're not quite sure, and they'd really like to spend some time exploring things and really getting to figure out who they are as a learner, who they are as a person. So there's a gap there. And some people say, I'm going to take a gap year, and then that means that they're just going to kind of hang out with their friends, maybe be a beach bum. That's not really a gap year. A gap year is truly when you've applied to college and then you let the college know that you are taking a gap year and you'd like to defer your enrollment. And then you explore, most of the time in a true gap year, the student is exploring one of these programs or any number of post-secondary programs that your child's school counselor could help you learn about. But some of these are great. I had a student once do City Year, and City Year is for students who are interested like in social work or education, and you're working in inner city schools with students who really need that mentoring piece. So it's a great program. I had another student do AmeriCorps, and she was in Alaska working on developing health and fitness programs. So there's some pretty amazing opportunities through gap year programs, and you just have to do a little bit of exploring. These are also some additional ones. The service programs are fantastic as well. And the colleges really like this because it really gives the student some time to grow up, mature, and really explore what it is that they're interested in. And then when they come back, they're really committed to their education because they've really figured it out.
Hmm.
All right, finally, for the military, we work with the students. We have recruiters in here just as frequently, if not more frequently, than the colleges. So all of the local branches of the military have reached out to us. We know who the recruiters are. They spend time in our school. We work with them to provide the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, which most of your students took it last year as juniors. It is the test that the military uses to help figure out which job they might be best suited for, but it's also a great career exploration tool. So if your student took it last year and then they don't really know what they want to do this year, talk with their school counselor because we can pull out those results and really take a good look at it and see where their strengths were, and then be able to use that to help them do some planning as well. Diane, do you want to talk a little bit about the enlisting versus the officer?
Sure. So a lot of times students don't realize that there is three ways to actually be in the armed services. One way is to enlist right from high school. So you are 17, 18 years old, you enlist while in high school. And then once you're done with high school, you go right into the military. That is one way of going into the armed services in any branch. Another way is through officer training. So what some colleges offer is JROTC or the ROTC. JROTC is the high school level. So like UNH has a big ROTC program, and they partner with other colleges locally to have students go to their college for the ROTC program. Usually by about the end of sophomore year, students are going into that thought of, do I want to go into the military after college? And do I want to go into officer training at this point? So they would actually enlist at that point. They would go to basic training during one of their summers. And then when they graduate from college, they're able to enroll in the military or enlist in the military as an officer instead of as an entry level ranking. Another way to enlist as an officer is to attend a military academy, such as West Point or the Air Force Academy. Those are usually students, if they are interested, they have applied by now. We get an invitation from the governor. I think we sent it out this year in April, Heidi, telling students about it and inviting them to work with their governor to get a slot of a recommendation. You can also look at a school like Norwich Academy, which has an officer training as well as a traditional college training. But then the final way to enlist in the armed services is actually through the National Guard. And what that is it generally has the same college benefits as enlisting in terms of reimbursement for college. However, the Guard only requires 1 weekend a month. Every single National Guard is different in terms of what they do in the Army for the National Guard versus the Air Force for the National Guard are two different things in terms of how they enlist you, how you get called to active duty, how you get assigned a role. So what we really strongly recommend in our office is that if you are thinking military, one, you research all branches. Unless you're confident, I do not want to do Air Force or I do not want to do Army, definitely research all branches. But two, also talk to the Guard representatives. talk to an officer so that they can explain the officer training versus enlisting in high school. Recruiters they are so helpful. They're wonderful. What we find often though is that they want to work with students to get them in right from high school and might not give these other ideas as opportunities. So we want to make sure that our students are aware of all three options of enlisting in the armed forces.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure thing. So can I just hit on some of the questions that are being asked,
Yep.
Heidi? Okay, so we're going to talk about the college labs in a moment. In terms of I Apply Day, if we are still remote, that is actually owned by NEAF, NHEAF, I can't even spell. That's owned by them. So if we are still remote, I'm sure they're going to come up with a plan. It might be something like this where we're all on Zoom and we're giving out codes as students apply, but we will figure something out. We're all in this together. And then there was a question about if my student is in a class like in the Northern Essex program where they are not doing college essays or preparation for college essays in that program, we've sent out, I think in May or June of last year, we sent out how to think about the college essay guidance, advice. It came from an email. The students have it. It's also in their classroom, their Google Classroom. And once they get started on that essay, if they need help proofing it, we are happy to do that in the school counseling office, definitely proofing, and even sometimes helping to generate that idea. And they also have English teachers from the past who are very happy to proofread essays. So there is that support in our office or within the school if they need it.
Yep. And I'm
Back to
sure
you.
that if they reached out to their to an English teacher and said, "Can I run my essay with you after school or during an FLT?" Even though they don't have that teacher, all of our teachers are so committed to helping our kids achieve their goals that they would 100%. I can't imagine any teacher in this building saying no. All right,
Right.
Michelle, was this you or am I doing this one?
You got that one.
I'm doing this one. Okay, sorry guys. Community college and 2-year programs. We always like to tell students that community college isn't just 4 years at UNH. So college can look as simple as 8 days at a gas pipe fitting school. That's post-secondary education. I've had students doing that and they are making a great salary right now and they spent 8 days doing their post-secondary training. It was enough. It was a job that they wanted to do and the employer said, you need this training, here's this school that you need to attend, it costs this amount of money, and so they did it, and that's their post-secondary training. So when we talk about post-secondary training, it's not just at the traditional go to college, take a English 101, do a US history class all over again. It can look very different depending on what the students' goals are. However, we do have a lot of local community colleges. So we have Great Bay Community College in Portsmouth, a number of community colleges throughout the state of New Hampshire. Northern Essex Community College is in our backyard. So that's one that many of our students attend. Manchester Community College has some great welding programs and the lineman programs. Nashua Community College has an amazing Toyota program where they've partnered with the local Toyota dealership and Jaguar dealerships to teach the students very specific skills to work on those cars. And students graduate with a certificate or a degree and then typically go right to work with the company that has sponsored those training programs. Great Bay Community College has something similar in their advanced training manufacturing program. It's in Rochester, and the students, the jobs there start at $22 an hour with full benefits. The training is provided by Albany Saffron. It's a company that has started this training program through Great Bay. And then after the first 2 or 3 weeks of the training, they are in the workforce, they're working, and then the company will pay for their next levels of training. So we say we talk a lot about post-secondary training, but it can mean anything from that 6 days to learn how to be a home healthcare person to all the way to the 2-year traditional associate's degree. And we would certainly explore any of those with students. We have some great resources here in the counseling office, as well as we spend a lot of time online looking at these programs and helping your students to find what they would like to do in a program that will help them get there.
To add on to that, Heidi, when students attend a program like Great Bay Community College Nursing, which is extremely competitive, UNH actually holds slots for them to transfer in to complete their 4-year degree. Similar to Northern Essex and UMass Lowell, they literally say, okay, we're going to keep this group of slots available. We're not going to accept an incoming freshman class for 10 nursing slots because we're going to take from our community college system for the students that finish their associate's degree. So a lot of that moving from community to state school is really, really beneficial for our kiddos.
Yeah, my own student has done what my youngest son is doing this, and it is an amazing cost saver for his 4-year degree. So I could certainly speak to anybody if they had questions about that. All right, and we talked a little bit about those certificate programs and those technical skill programs. So the ones listed here at the bottom, the New England Tractor Trailer Training School, again, in our backyard, right down in Haverhill. Empire Beauty School, they're here at our school all the time talking with students. One that's often overlooked is the Whittier Tech Adult Education Program. Again, down in Haverhill, where students can say, I would want to be a plumber, or I'm interested in becoming an electrician. And a lot of those jobs will have apprenticeship programs. So a student can do a registered apprenticeship where they're making a decent salary as long as they're enrolled in an academic training program. And Whittier Tech provides that academic training program to work with the apprenticeship program. So it's a great, there is some paperwork, and it's a little bit different process than the typical 2-year college or 4-year college application process, but all the counselors here have worked in those systems, and we certainly know where to reach out if we have questions about it. There's also surprisingly a lot of free money in the state of New Hampshire for these certificate hands-on training programs. So if your student is someone who you say there's no way he's going to or she's going to go to a 4-year college or a 2-year college, and you know that they want that hands-on training, talk with your school counselor. The New Hampshire Charitable Foundation has programs and scholarships that's specific for these certificate programs. They don't want students applying to their scholarships if they're going to UNH. They want them applying if they're going to the heavy equipment operator school in Brentwood, and they're going to become a crane operator. They want those students, and they've got money available to help them purchase their tools and pay for the tuition at those programs. All right, were there any other questions for me, Diane?
Not right now.
All right, I'm turning it over to Michelle then, right?
Nope, me.
Nope, you. All right. Sorry, I really was part of the planning.
So Heidi, you're going to stop sharing your screen, and I'm going to jump in and share mine, and hopefully people are patient with me while I do this. You'll get to see some fun stuff here for a second. Okay, so I'm not going to share the presentation as pretty as Heidi did because I have some other things open that I want everyone to see. But basically, when it comes to the 4-year application process, your students have been hearing this from us since I think the date was like February 18th of last year. We did a junior parent kickoff night, and then the very next day we met with the students in a big assembly and talked to them about everything that Heidi's talked about, everything that I'm going to talk about. And then we actually met with them through College and Career Labs before we went out because of COVID. Once we went out, we met with them through virtual College and Career Labs. We did Zoom calls with them and really talked about the process. And if you can remember, you as parents as well as students pretty much got bombarded with emails from us because we didn't want you to have this summer and say, what do I do? So we sent out emails towards the end of the year explaining, how do I think about the essay? What's a good resource for the college essay? What is going on with SATs? And Michelle will get into that, trust me. And, what is test optional? What does that mean? And how do I research colleges, and what's SCORE versus Naviance? So we really spent some time trying to educate about that before we went out for summer. So coming into this senior year, these students are busier than they were their junior year. Especially, we're doing sports, we're doing jobs, we're doing schoolwork, we're taking the same level classes we took all the other years of high school, but now we have that college process layered on top of it. So our goal is to get this stuff done pretty early in the process so they can focus on academics, wait for their acceptance letters to whatever program they decide to apply to, and figure out the financials at the same time. So by now, we're hoping that students have thought about the colleges they want to apply to. And right now, I'm going to focus on that traditional, the 2-year and the 4-year college process. Um, if they're thinking 4-year college, even as a potential, they want to evaluate multiple. They usually say the standard list is 5 to 8 colleges. We have some students who only apply to 3. We have some students who apply to 12. When we have students who are applying to 20, that's when we say, whoa, rein it in. Because what happens is colleges actually will send you free applications. So a student says, well, it's a piece of cake for me to apply. Why wouldn't I? Well, why wouldn't you? It kind of shows that you haven't put a lot of thought into the process. And trust me, I have one who's a freshman in college and I have one who's a senior in high school. It gets overwhelming when stuff starts to come in the mail and you're like, wait, I don't even remember applying to this one. So we really say limit your process, and think about what you might want to do, where you might want to go, and limit that list down so it's not up at that 15 number. Michelle will talk about the SATs. The students do have copies of the brag sheet. What the brag sheet is it's a tool that they fill out so that whoever they ask for a letter of recommendation can do the best job to represent the student the best they possibly can. The brag sheet just talks about them as a person. It's not just a resume. So every student has a copy of that. We sent out all the information about the college essay, and the senior lit teachers are working on the essay with the students if the students chose. They should ask for letters of recommendation if they haven't already. Teachers need a good 3 weeks notice to write those, as do counselors. We want to do these well, and most of us do them on Sunday morning from the comfort of our kitchen counter, so that we can have peace and quiet and really think through the process. So we always say 3 weeks notice. This is a tough one. Visit the colleges you haven't already seen. Dave put on the screen in the very beginning, if you remember, there's several virtual college fairs coming. You'll have to register for all of them on your own, except for the one that Sanborn is hosting. Note, we are the only high school in the area, as far as I can tell, that is hosting such a thing. So that's pretty exciting. And it will be on the 23rd of September with more information coming later this week. But when I say visit the colleges, you want to actually visit them virtually, and you want that on record, and we'll get into that. Make a list of application deadlines and financial aid deadlines. Students are constantly asking the counselors, how many letters of recommendation do I need? What is my deadline? We have to remind them there are 2,500 4-year colleges alone in this country. There's 6,000 post-secondary education programs in this country. We can't remember the guidelines for all of them. So we ask students to really own that, where they're only applying to 5 to 12 colleges. We want them to own, what is the deadline? What is required of you? How will you handle SATs? Things like that. And then register for the NCAA or the NAIA if applicable. So if you are a recruited athlete at the D1 or D2 level, you will want to register for the NCAA. There is a fee to do that. And your student can see their counselor, or they're working with a program like a club team or something like that to get more information. And then use SCORE, which we're going to talk about right now. So a lot of people are sitting here going, what is SCORE? And SCORE, let me just see if I can't even share my full screen because I messed it up. It's fine. So SCORE is a new tool that we're using this year. Ms. Levitt was able to negotiate an amazing contract with them. And we said goodbye to Naviance because the SCORE contract was, can I say it, Heidi?
Yep.
It was free. And this tool is amazing. What I want to say is there are apps, and I actually have 3 of them on my phone. I have the student app, I have the parent app, and I have the counselor app. This is one of the most user-friendly tools that we've seen, and it's for the college and career process. So if you don't know what you're going to do, or if you're trying to research colleges, this is the tool that we're going to use. I did send out a tutorial on this back in, Michelle, I can't remember, it was May or June, but it's also posted on our school counseling website. There's a tutorial for students and there's a tutorial for parents. They're each about 5 minutes in length. If you didn't watch them then, we really recommend you take a look at them because they're really, really, really wonderful in terms of showing you what to do in this tool. So what is SCORE? It's a college research tool that supports the application process for the high school senior and their school counselor. Well, what does that mean? It means that your student has the opportunity to research colleges, and I'll show you a little bit in just a moment, but that we also can see what they're doing. We can see what colleges they're thinking about. We can see what the deadlines are, and then we can submit all of the school information on their behalf. So their transcript, their letters of recommendation, their school report, and their school profile. So this allows us to just submit it to the college. It gives the student that peace of mind that they can see that it went off. And a lot of times the colleges will email the student saying, we never got your transcript, because their systems simply haven't spoken yet that week. The student kind of freaks out a little bit. Oh my gosh, the college doesn't have my transcript. They come running to us. We're like, no, see, you can see when they actually got it. So it really helps the students just kind of, okay, I know I've got my college list. I know where I'm applying. I've seen all the great things about it. And my counselor knows what they're doing and what my deadlines are. So they're going to also use this tool to invite teachers to write letters of recommendation for them. We tell students, please ask your teacher either in person, so maybe in a chat room through Zoom if they're in class, or email them and ask them for a letter of recommendation. When a teacher says yes, they will then ask for the brag sheet, and they'll ask, what is your deadline? Sometimes a teacher will say no. And the reason they'll say no is, one, maybe the student already has a science teacher writing a letter of recommendation and they're asking a second science teacher. That's not necessarily something you want. You want someone asking from, maybe it's a science teacher, maybe it's a math teacher, but two different disciplines. Maybe the teacher just doesn't really feel like they know the student well enough because they've only had them for a month of school, and they might not be able to represent them as good as they want. So the letters of recommendation, it's a process to think about, and invite the teachers through SCORE. The students will then complete their application process using the common application or their college application, while the counselor completes the school reporting process. And I already talked about that with the school profile, the school report, transcript, and letters of recommendation. So let's just take a look in here, and instead of clicking this link, and you guys will get this website, we'll post it out on the school counseling page. I'm just going to go right into SCORE here. So this is what it looks like. And this is me in as a student. This is what the video, the tutorial will show you. So I just wanted to have you see a quick look. I am applying to Boston College, Elon, University of Maryland, University of Maine, Penn State, Clemson, University of South Carolina. I got a lot going on here. I can see over here, I can see deadlines. I can just do, if I want to do a random college search, and I'm going to type in Merrimack. Here it is. And I can actually see great information about Merrimack College right on the SCORE page. So I can see the acceptance rate, the in-state tuition, the out-of-state. Now note, this is just tuition. This does not include room and board. I can see average net cost. This is after financial aid. I can see SAT and ACT. It's not reported because they went optional. I can see the different deadlines. Something that's really important is if they're looking at state schools from, say, I don't know, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, pretty much, I think it's 83% of their students are from in-state in North Carolina. So not a big geographic diversity there. So SCORE is really, really cool in that they can see all this information in here. I'm going to invite you to watch that video that we sent home in the early summer so that you can actually do this for yourself. I don't want to bog you guys down. But when we click on my profile, you can see we will load their GPA, we load their PSAT scores, their SAT scores if they have taken them. We can see what their must-haves are for colleges. And then here, this is actually a pretty amazing thing. This is a tool called Use Science. It is a career interest inventory. Parents, for those of you who've done a career interest inventory, this is one of those that you would pay a couple of $1,000s to have a career consultant do for you. It is long. I did it myself. It takes about a full hour, but you can pause it and walk away and go back because it invites you to really sit and focus. Turn off your phone. Don't even have it near you. No earbuds with music, and just really focus. And it is intense, and it is amazing to have something like this available to students. Is just, I can't even believe it's something that's free for them. However, what I will say is that once it is done, it cannot be redone. So I've already used mine. that means that I can't go back and redo it. So we actually suggest that juniors and seniors do this, and we do not open it up to freshmen and sophomores. We invite them to do something like the Occupational Outlook Handbook Survey, or ONET, something like that. Okay, so that is SCORE in a nutshell. Then we have, I mentioned, applying to colleges. I'm going to show you really easily the common application, and I opened it instead of going to this. Okay. So right now I am in the common application. This is a practice account. It is a counselor account. However, it mimics the student account. The common application, students get really, really overwhelmed with applying to college. It's very easy. They do an application, they do their essay, they figure out the SATs, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help with this. But this is the common application. So the common application, what you can see is my colleges. Well, I don't have any colleges here, so I'm going to apply to Merrimack, and I'm going to select that and I'm going to add it. So now under my colleges, I can see Merrimack College, and this page right here, this is what tells us what Merrimack actually requires. However, when I click on common application, this is where the actual application is, and they want to go in and fill out every section of this in its entirety. It asks for very specific information. It asks for contacts, information, demographics, what classes you're taking. A couple of notes on this. One of the things that needs to be done in SCORE and in the common application is releasing FERPA. FERPA is our Family Education Right to Privacy Act. And until a student releases that and says that they, the school is allowed to release information on their behalf, we can't submit a transcript to a college. So a student has to release that FERPA in here. Another note, it says recommenders here. We don't want students inviting recommenders through common application. We have them do that through SCORE. So we tell the students, go ahead and ignore that. Another piece of information is that in this profile, down on the bottom, as we know, we're in difficult economic times, unfortunately, and any student who's facing financial hardship, they're on free or reduced lunch, or there's another situation going on, as long as they talk to their counselor, they can check this box that the fee waiver is available, and then the counselor substantiates to the college why the student will not be paying an application fee. That is a confidential conversation between the counselor and the student. We've had students face situations that don't just include free or reduced lunch. There's other things going on. So I wanted to point that out. And the other thing is in this writing section, this is actually where students will put their essay. And here's those essay questions that we shared in the spring. But in addition to that, there is a section here on COVID and how the student handled it, how they managed through COVID, through the pandemic in the spring and over the summer. And what I can tell you is that colleges are looking for information here. So we really recommend that people take the time to do that essay and fill that out. So that is the Common App. You can search for colleges. You have a dashboard here. There are scholarships in here as well that you can look up. So that is just the Common Application. So now if I show you University of New Hampshire, I mentioned that some schools require the Common App, some schools require the school application. This is the application checklist for the University of New Hampshire. Every college has an application checklist, what is required to actually apply. So when we scroll down, we see academic preparation, what's required of high school, Algebra 1, 2, and geometry, what's required for different programs such as nursing. And then down here, we have application requirements. So they say, what is a completed application? Well, for UNH, you can apply using the Common Application or the Coalition Application. Coalition Application is actually a new system from a few years ago. Most colleges in the Northeast do not use it. There's only a few in the country that only use the Coalition app. So we recommend that students stay away from that and stick with the Common Application. So again, then they talk about what do they want for letters of recommendation. UNH requires one letter of recommendation written by the school counselor or core academic teacher. So it's up to the student to figure out what do they need for letters of recommendation from the counselor. Then when I go to Plymouth State's admissions page here, and I cannot see it, so let me move this over. When I click apply, They have two ways to apply. You can apply using the Panther application or the common application, and it tells you what the differences are. So again, we ask that students take a look at that, determine how they want to apply. So some tips for applying. And these are really important, and they might seem kind of basic, but they're not, and people forget them. Be honest in all aspects of your application. Colleges are relying, especially the big colleges like the UMass Amherst, like the U Tampa, like the Alabama, they are relying a lot on self-reporting in many situations. If you make a mistake, it's okay to let them know. They don't mind that. They like all communications they can get from you. If you tell a mistruth, unfortunately, oftentimes they can find out. So if you said that you were a National Honor Society and you weren't, there's a way for them to find that out. So they always say, be honest. And these pieces of information are actually from the last two calls I was on last week at night with a couple of colleges. Complete sections like the new how did you handle the pandemic? They want to know more about you. And Michelle will talk about SATs and how many schools are optional and things like that. But because they've lost that aspect of the admittance package, they want to hear more from you. Demonstrated interest. This is actually a more significant component of admissions this year than any other year. Demonstrated interest basically says to the college, this student is applying to my school. However, how badly do they actually want to come? If we admit them, are they going to stay for 4 years? Or are they going to leave after 6 months? So demonstrated interest is, did you open the email they sent you? Did you respond or sign up for whatever it was that they sent you? Did your parents open the email that they sent you? Have you done a virtual tour on their website? Have you met with them at a college fair? They actually track every single interaction you have had with them, and it helps your application get through the process. Trust me. Let your essay tell a story. And I love this. Who are you? How have you grown and changed over the years? What's something that impacted you that helped you develop into an adult? Love this quote. That first paragraph will determine if the admissions counselor will keep reading. And on that, I say that means do not start your essay like everybody else. I remember when I was 10 years old, or any traditional type of statement, you want to start it with like something that's like, what is this person talking about? I need to keep reading. Not shock, scary shock, but like, what? I don't get it. Let me keep going. And then you want to also determine if you want to apply early action, early decision, or rolling decision. Early action is that deadline, or regular decision, actually. Early action is that deadline that's coming up. Some are ready October 1st, some are ready November 1st, some are ready November 15th, some are ready December 1st. Again, it's up to each student to understand what are their deadlines. The benefit to applying early action is it gets you a spot earlier. It helps build their class, and you have an answer on if you've gotten in or not. Some schools, if you do not get accepted to early action, they will just reject you. Some will move you to waitlist. All of that information is on their website. Early decision, we don't have many students who, in general, in all of the population, apply early decision. The reason is that this is for those students who, since they were 8 years old, they have wanted to go to Columbia University. And if they go to Columbia, if they get into Columbia University, even if Columbia gives them no money, they're going to find a way to pay for it. Because you could get into Columbia University early decision and they could give you no money. And you could say, but you gave me no money. And they could say, guess what? You signed a contract. You still have to come. Schools are a little bit more flexible than that, but early decision means you are signing a contract that if you get into that college or university, you are attending. You're not attending any of the other schools you apply to. Regular decision, which is not on here, is that old school February 1st, March 1st, March 15th deadline. Schools still do that. And that's for the student who's like, I don't know for sure that I want to apply, and I'm kind of rolling through the process and trying to figure it out. And then there's rolling admission. A Plymouth State, a Clemson, those are rolling admission. And the earlier you apply to those, the better off you are, because then you're part of that building of the class, rather than does she fit into the class at the end. So those are just some tips for applying. Resources, college labs. So every year, Every year we hold college and career labs, and those are during FLT. Well, this year it's hard. When we did this with juniors in the spring, we really didn't have much attendance. We're going to be totally candid here. Students were like, I can't handle being on the computer during FLT, and if I can take a break, I'm going to take a break. Or they were trying to catch up on work. We are offering college labs starting this Friday in the library, starting at 10:30 in the morning. We'll send out a schedule. You'll be limited to 10 students at a time. It's going to be very strict. The nurse will be there taking temperatures before the student's allowed in the building. The student will be escorted to the library. They will sit at a table by themselves. They will have to wear a mask at all times. They will be limited to 1 hour. We're also offering the same thing via Zoom at the same time. So while we're limited to Fridays, 3 sessions of 10, we'll also have that Zoom line open for college and career labs. And more information will be sent out about that midweek. There is a Google Classroom of college, career, and graduation resources for all seniors. That was actually shared today, or they can reference back to the junior classroom that their school counselor set up for them last year as well. Parents received an invitation as well. All the parents can really see, though, is the updates and where that classroom is pretty much built. You won't see too much, but you can go in with your student and see what's in there. That handbook for planning life after high school, many of the students were given it virtually last year if they were not able to get it in person, or it was mailed home with their schedules. It's a 38-page master document of everything you could possibly need to know about applying to colleges or researching careers. The counseling website, our counseling website is so filled with information. It's amazing. I highly recommend you research that. The NEEF website, Heidi mentioned them earlier. Great information. They do presentations for us, but they also do presentations like this one that we do for our parents. They do it for parents at other high schools that are local. Counselor meetings, your students can meet with us anytime. They are required to meet with us at least once, one-on-one, as Heidi mentioned, for the contracts. And then we have our virtual college fair coming up on the 23rd, which more information will be forthcoming about that. And on that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Farrar to start talking about SATs.
Can we just follow up with a couple of questions?
Sure thing.
All right, so we had a question about where is the link for SCORE, and that link can be found on the counseling website. So if you go to sau17.org and then click on the high school and then click on the counseling tab, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll find a whole bunch of links for SCORE, College Board, SAT information, information, anything you could need for the college planning process is going to be on the bottom of our website.
And Heidi, on that note, I wanted to just add, I forgot to say this. We still have 32 seniors who have not registered for SCORE. We've sent out multiple invitations. Once those 32 seniors get registered for SCORE and they got an invitation today, then we can invite their parents. But until the seniors have accepted that invitation, the parents can't see anything.
Good point. All right, and then we had a question about, will the school counselors be reaching out to students to schedule meetings for helping with the application process? Yes, they'll be reaching out to schedule those individual one-to-one meetings, but you will be receiving probably in the middle of this week a link to sign up for the college labs if you want to school. What?
Nope, that was my dog barking.
Oh, okay.
And on that note, Heidi, I'm sorry, my dog's hungry. I think someone's at the door. The application process, feel free. Those kiddos, they can do those applications at home, and then we can help them where they run into gaps. But that common application is something where your kiddo is sitting at that kitchen table on a Saturday morning yelling, "Mom, what was your highest level of education achieved? Mom, what's Susie's date of birth?" The younger sibling. So those applications, definitely get going on those on the home front.
And I would imagine they can find the link for that on our website.
Heck yeah, they can.
And there was a question about, is there a way to get a copy of the handbook on college planning? If you don't have that any longer, we can certainly arrange for you to pick a copy up here at the high school.
And that's also on the website.
Yep. And then just one last note that I wanted to make about the essay. I know I've gone, and I'm sure the other counselors have as well, do a number of essay writing workshops to help our students. And what always makes me chuckle is the admissions reps who say, "Don't tell me about your grandfather." Mm-hmm. Grandfather's not applying to college. You might say something about, how grandpa has impacted you and how did that change who you were as a person. But don't tell us about how great grandpa is and his war records, because then they want to enroll grandpa in college. They need to want to enroll you in their college. Anything else from the other counselors? Or is Michelle ready to take over?
In the Google Classroom, you can also get that student handbook that each student received either by their counselor or if we ended up sending them just even, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, if they never picked them up. So that's available in the Google Classroom.
Yeah. So every student received them either physically in February, March of last year, or they were just sent out in the mail. They all had their names on them, so we knew who hadn't gotten them.
Yeah.
All right, Michelle, you want to go?
Okay, so the SATs are going to be held at Sanborn High School on October 14th for those seniors who decide to take that test. It is the student's responsibility, I would suggest ahead of time, to pick the 4 colleges that they would like their scores sent to for free. And regardless of how many times your student takes the test, as long as they picked those 4 colleges, those scores will continue to get sent to those 4 colleges. If there's other colleges they want their scores sent to, they will need to go into College Board, and I think it's $11 to send to each college above and beyond the 4 that they selected the day of testing. So again, something for the students to know ahead of time, those 4 colleges that they want to have their SAT scores sent to. Heidi, are we asking parents, to fill out an opt-out form if they're not going to come in for the SAT testing, or we don't know?
Yes, nope, there is a link in Mr. Stack's newsletter that he sent this week for parents who don't want their student to take the SAT or who would prefer them to not come into the building to take that SAT. We do just need you to fill out that form online. It's a simple Google form, and then it comes right back to us, and then your student will not have to take that test.
Thank you. Currently, these are the SAT test dates. Again, this could easily change. As you know, we've had to have a couple already canceled and reschedule. It'd probably be best if you go on to College Board and just check the dates, because this can change quite a bit. ACT is...
Oh, Michelle,
yes.
On the SAT note, the what's happening is the dates aren't changing. The high schools are canceling, and it's unfortunate, but that's why so many colleges are test optional. But I don't even know what we're up to, like 1,800, I think, test optional now.
Wow.
I'll get to that in a...
Yeah.
I think it's down here a little bit, or maybe I should just bring it up now. I think it's important. Well, we'll talk about ACT testing. So depending on the program or the college that your student is applying to, that college or program may actually require the ACT testing versus the SATs. The ACT is heavily in math and science. And so it's just really important for your student to know if the ACT is required. And that's something that we don't offer at Sanborn High School. So that's something that you would have to go on to act.org and sign up for yourself. And then what McCarthy was saying is, yes, there are a lot of schools that are test optional, but just be sure that in lieu of the SAT scores, they're not requiring additional essay questions. So again, that's something for your student to look on the admissions page for each school. So sending SAT and ACT scores, your student is going to be responsible for logging into the College Board account and sending them. We do not have their College Board account password. So if your student forgot or they can't get into College Board, they're going to have to actually call. So hopefully they took a picture or they wrote it down somewhere, because I know that can be a bit of a hassle and you can be on the phone for a long time. So just know that we as counselors, we don't have access and we can't get into their College Board or give them that password. And that we don't send them. So if they want to send them to schools, they need to go into the College Board account and send them along themselves. If it's above On the 4 that they selected the day of the SAT testing, again, there will be a fee for that.
Half an hour.
I'm sorry. I heard. Okay. So helpful tips and information, we've kind of gone over this a little bit, but each senior will have at least one-to-one meeting with their counselor to review their transcript, graduation requirements, sign their senior contract, their diploma plans, and then we'll get a copy of that information off to parents. If your student isn't feeling comfortable coming into the building, that's something we can certainly do via Zoom, and then we could send that information along through an email. Attendance matters. I know it's kind of wonky right now with COVID, but attendance still matters. You're still going to get attendance calls. It's still being monitored. And if you miss so many classes, you're in danger of automatically failing a class. So attendance still matters. It's still very important, even during this time. We will begin to have those probation meetings in January for those students who might be in danger of not graduating, and that will be with their school counselor and administrator, and parents will get informed of all of that and information and letters in the mail as well if your student is in danger of not graduating. I suggest, and your student doesn't have to, but we gave them a sample of a grid sheet to kind of keep track of what college they're applying to, if they require the ACT or the SATs, how many letters or recommendations. And I think it's really important for them to know who they want them from. Some colleges just want them from the school counselor. Some just want from an academic teacher. So it's really important that the students are making sure that they're sending the right letters of recommendations to the colleges per their requirements. And again, I think we went over this a little bit, but if you are playing NCAA sports, you should already have an account and be checking to make sure that your classes are approved. And then if you are on free and reduced lunch, or you have some extenuating circumstances and you need a fee waiver, you please reach out to your counselor. And again, that is all confidential information.
And just to add on to that attendance, if you Michelle referenced the attendance being really important, which obviously it is. Just keep us in the loop on things. If you are sick, if you break a leg, if you have to have surgery because you fell downstairs or something like that, just keep us in the loop so that if you need to take multiple days, we can advocate for you and work with you through that probation process so that you don't run into it.
Thank you. Make sure, and we've talked to them about this a couple of times, but make sure that they have a professional email for colleges and applications or even jobs. And students should be definitely checking their social media and making sure that nothing on there is inappropriate. Colleges, might stumble upon that, or maybe somebody sends something to a college something that your student posted that was inappropriate. So there's always that chance as well. Double check. Make sure that you have all your application requirements. Each school is different. Use your score. I would suggest students get that score app on their phone. I think it's a fabulous app, and I think they will find it very helpful. If your child is doing a dual enrollment class, it's actually their responsibility to reach out to that college and make sure that they send the transcript to the colleges that your student is applying to in the fall. And if you have a 504 plan, if you have a 504 plan, it will be important for you to make sure that you have a copy of that and that your student goes to the student services at that college campus to review the 504 plan so that they can make accommodations that are appropriate for that campus.
And that's similar for an IEP with all the testing, right?
It is, but a 504 can follow you throughout your life, as where an IEP, expires at 21. So it's a little bit different, but certainly if you have an IEP or 504, make sure that your student has a copy of that and takes that to student services. We will be hosting a NEAF night. It may or may not be virtually, but it looks like we're going to shoot for October 8th. Oh, so it is going to be virtually. It's October 8th. It's really important that you come to that and get as much information because every student applying to colleges have to fill out a FAFSA. And we, as the counseling department, we're not, accountants. We're we didn't go to school to help you fill out your FAFSA. We're struggling with our own kiddos, but you also don't want us to know about your personal finances. So if you come to that financial aid night, or if you can't, and you have additional questions, you really need to reach out to NEEF to get some help with the FAFSA filing.
And it's not hard. We've all done it. I don't know how, but we did it.
Hard, but if you have questions, you certainly don't want us
Yeah.
all of your personal information is really what I'm getting at. So
Yeah.
So financial aid, it's never too soon to start looking at some scholarships, such as scholarship.com, neef.org, Go Mary, College Board has some scholarship information. There will be, just haven't gotten there quite yet. I oversee the scholarships, the local scholarships, and so I will be putting out a monthly scholarship newsletter, and I'll be sending that in emails, but also it'll be available on our website. I also oversee the big local scholarship that night takes place in May, and I'll be sending out that big packet. Usually in February, we get that all situated, but it's never too early for your student to go ahead and start looking at these other websites for any sort of scholarships. And again, all of these websites are available on our website. Oh, and watch out for scams. You never should have to pay for a scholarship or pay for FAFSA. So if they're asking for money, we kind of say it could possibly be a scam. And again, anything to do with financial aid, that FAFSA filing, if you can't, hopefully you can come to October 8th, but if you can't, make sure you reach out to NEEF, and you may have to drive to Concord, or maybe they will be setting up a Zoom call with you as well.
Actually, they have call center hours, and I used them last year. They were amazing. So if you can't drive up, you can you can set up an appointment on the phone. They're so good.
And then lastly, communication. I think McCarthy kind of, said this tonight, that we've had 32 seniors who have not accepted the SCORE invite. And I know I personally have sent it probably 3 times. I know Mrs. McCarthy has sent it several times. So your students really, really, really need to be checking their emails daily. That's how we communicate with them. It's going to be how colleges communicate with them. But a lot of important information, especially this school year, is going to be coming through their email, and the invite to their Google Classroom for 2021, that came through an email. So it's imperative that they check their emails, stay on top of that. That's it.
One thing we didn't talk about, and Heidi, you're still muted, is social media. There's been a lot of discussion about our college counselors reviewing social media. And some schools are, some schools are not. So remind your student that what they're putting out there on Snapchat, Instagram, their Finsta, that is a fake Instagram account, their stories, TikTok, whatever they're using, a college can look them up if they are public, or sometimes they can get in through the back door to see their private stuff too on their Instagram, or however it works. So
Well,
just
what I said was that, colleges may not be taking the time to do that, or if students are set to, private mode, maybe a friend on social media takes a snippet of whatever you posted on social media and sends it off to a college. You just never know. So just keep it clean on social media, please.
Please.
Yeah.
All right, so we did have one question. If my daughter's registered to take the SATs on October 3rd, should she take them again at Sanborn on October 14th? She's applying early action to all of her schools.
I would say, so honestly, because she's registered for October 3rd, stay on top of the College Board website, make sure it's not canceled. I know of a couple schools that they have figured it out, and they've worked with College Board to be able to hold it October 3rd, which the same schools can hold it in August. But I would say go ahead and take it. I know it's only 11 days later that they can take the October 14th, but oftentimes there's an increase in the score just because they've taken it a second time. So where you've already paid for that first one, you can't get a refund unless you provide a medical documentation. I would say take it both times.
I would agree with that. And SAT will take the highest score.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Mrs. McCarthy was saying, 11 days later, you might feel a little bit more confident, might know more to expect. So I would agree. I would say go ahead and take it again.
Yeah.
Free.
Yeah. And the colleges, what is it called? It's super score. So they'll take the highest math and the highest English from either test.
Well-
They don't necessarily say, oh, well, October 3rd, math was higher, but English was lower, but we have to take that. No, they take the higher English and the higher math. They don't care what the other score was, if it was lower. They just want the highest.
Great question.
Oh, one thing, did we talk about, Michelle, the Common App and the SAT optional?
I did say that yes, that a lot of schools are saying test optional, but just be mindful that those same colleges may say in lieu of taking SAT or ACT, you have to do these 2 additional essays. I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in the Common App, if they check, there's an option to say, am I applying as a self-reported test taker? And if you say yes, that means you are required to submit your SAT scores, even if the school is test optional. So we always say, don't check that box saying you're submitting your test scores.
And if you send them, they are required to look at them.
Yes.
So send them, and they are test optional. You know, they're not going to hold that against you. But if you send them, make sure they're, the numbers that you want, because they will look at them if you send them. They're required to.
Just remember also that even though they may be SAT optional for admissions, they may still require the SATs for any scholarships. So merit scholarships, a lot of them are still based on SAT scores. So it's still, we think that it's still important for students to at least participate in the SAT here at Sanborn, because it's something that you have in your pocket, even if you don't take it anywhere else, because they get canceled or whatnot. You don't want to find yourself come March looking for an SAT score to apply for a scholarship.
Right. And some schools even require a standardized test for placement of classes. So you get accepted to your college, you're going to go, you commit, and then they say, we're going to have you take a 3-hour math test to get your math placement. Well, guess what? I already took the SATs. So here's those scores. So we definitely recommend students take the school test on the 14th.
We have no more questions in the chat box.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I think we can probably wrap this up. This has been great. You guys asked amazing questions. We certainly appreciate everybody who sat through this with us and helped through our bumps here. But we are here. We're available for you. If you have anything that comes up, if your students have any struggles, reach out to us, because we may not know that it's happening, but you're going to see the tears at home. So let us know if those tears are flowing, and we will step in and we'll scoop them up and help them out, because that's what we do best.
Well, looking forward to our college labs on Friday.
We're so excited. We hope people come.
Yes,
And we'll be sending out the sign up link for that later this week. Yay. And we already had two students said, that's our day off. No, that's a school day.
Yep.
You're coming in.
Oh, and we forgot to talk about the SAT prep.
Oh, that's right.
The SAT
That was in
prep
Mr.
class.
Stack's newsletter today.
Yep. We are offering a free SAT prep class focused on math only, and strategies to tackle the different math questions. And I was speaking with the woman who's running it today. She's our new math. She's the director of math curriculum, I think is her title, for the district. And she is talking about how to demystify the math portion of the SAT. She said they try and trick you. They make you do it timed, but you guys know this information and you can be successful on the math. She just is going to give you some tips so that it's not so scary and you don't get yourself all freaked out.
But there's also always
To that.
Khan Academy that takes your scores and then kind of personalizes what you need to work on. So don't forget Khan Academy as well, which is also free.
Yep. And all of that information is, like Ms. McCarthy said, the SAT prep, the Google form for all of the information and to the Google Classroom is on Mr. Stack's newsletter. And then Khan Academy is on our website.
And there was one more question that just came in. And that was about, will colleges accept SAT scores after the early action deadline? Oftentimes that's up to each individual college. Most schools will take it within 2 weeks. But what the student wants to do is they want to email the admissions office and saying, I'm applying early action and I'm taking the SATs on October 14th. It'll take 2 weeks for my scores to be released. Will you still accept them? So definitely reach out to the colleges. The colleges, remember, demonstrated interest. The colleges want to hear from the students, never the parents. They do not want to hear from the parents. And the three of us who have kids as seniors were like, why not? They don't want to hear from the parents. They want to know the students are ready to go to college. The student always email admissions and ask them questions. They love to hear from the kids. They love it. So I think that was it. I think
that's the last question.
awesome sauce.
All righty, so we are going to ask our tech guys to shut us down. If you have anything, or just remember, reach out to us. We're here to help.
We sure are.
See you guys soon.